What does "we are tenacious" mean to me? To be tenacious is to be strong, firm, to be steadfast, to see something through the end. So to me, our core value means do not stop when you hit a roadblock. Think through the issue and try other things. Do not stop until you have a resolution. This is what every customer deserves, and one of the reasons they chose us. Let me give you an example.
Hello, this is Ben.
I was on call one chilly day and had plans to eat dinner with my best friend who was in from Chicago. Travion called me around 6 p.m. just as I was leaving an on-site emergency. He said he was so sorry, but that I needed to head to another client and that I'd be there for a while. I wasn't too cheerful about it, but I had a duty to do. I drove back to the office to pick up a loaner server. So Seth and Travion were a couple of sweeties about the whole thing and had the loaner ready for me when I arrived. I picked it up and headed to D-Wort. On the drive over, I remember thinking, maybe I could fire off this shadow protector store and be done in time for dinner, but that was fleeting optimism. I arrived at D-Wort and started to set up the loaner in their server closet. Eric and Matthew were very helpful, and I called them each a couple times while on site. After configuring the ESXi host on the new network and creating a new VM, we discovered that this loaner server wouldn't work. 80 gigs available on the data store, and the server drives were about 500. So Eric said that we had another loaner server that had enough hard drive space and that it was in the server rack at DE. I took this opportunity to go have a quick dinner with my best friend, knowing that I'd likely be working into the early morning hours. The dinner was delicious and the company exquisite. Soon, I was back at DE. Matthew was there and graciously spent about 30 or 45 minutes just helping me get the server out of the rack. We had the router and a couple other servers on top of our second loaner, and we fooled around with rails that fit and rails that didn't fit. It was a huge production. But at long last, we freed the server, and I was on my way back out into the cold night. So I started setting up the second loaner server, and after configuring IP settings, I felt the call of nature. Minutes passed. Then, the unthinkable happened. I went to flush the toilet, and nothing. Panic. I was very aware of how quiet the room was and everything around me. I was alone in a dentist's office at 12 a.m. with no running water. Oh shit, I said. Thankfully, there was a tiny trickle of water in the sink and it was enough for me to properly wash my hands. In those long seconds, I began to lose fear. I thought, I will not lose tonight. This is not how this goes down. I will win. I looked around feverishly for any volume of water. Anything. A water cooler? No, of course they don't have one. Anything in the fridge? Nothing. I tried every sink I could find, nothing but a few pitiful drops. Then I remembered from when I onboarded this place. They have a second bathroom way in the back. I suddenly felt alive, determined, hopeful, no, sure that this would work. I opened the door to the second bathroom and opened the tank. It was full of water, but it may as well have been liquid gold. I was saved. I pulled the bag from the small metal trash can in the room and found a tiny 10-ounce plastic cup. I steadily filled that trash can with every drop of water in that tank. I marched down the hall, carefully poured it into the dry toilet, and said a prayer. I flushed. Oh, the second server, yeah. So after another hour or so with that, the second loaner, we figured out it wouldn't work either. Something about 64-bit, blah, blah, blah. At that point, I was just exhausted, but I did manage to reseat the hard drives in their original server, and it fired right up. Got them through the next day. We could prep a compatible loaner server. The customer was happy. And they didn't know it, but because of tenacity, they didn't show up the next morning to a hand-scribbled note on the bathroom door that read, "Hey, sorry, but if your water's back on, please flush the toilet." And that is something that every customer deserves.